But in a situation where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
I have said that.
All right, welcome back. As you've heard, it is actually time for newspaper review right here in the studio. And with us, we have General Editor, Daily Trust, Hamza Idris, joining us, as the reviewer. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak again.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll start first of all by taking headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper for Thursday, March 17th, 2022. And we have the lead story here that talks about businesses struggling for survival as diesel price soars. And we have writers that say cost of production unbearable, says manufacturers. Supply will adjust in few weeks, says oil marketers. Job losses loom. And we have a pictorial of people packing rubbles after demolition in Utako village by the Development Control Department of Abuja Municipal Council. All right, beside that pictorial, we have 2023 PDP begins sale of forms as meetings on zoning deadlocked. We have how Lagos bishop drugged defiled daughter. This is a really sad one. Details of that on page 16. We also have on the Electoral Act, we may go to court, says federal government. And then right below that, we have APC Council's NEC meeting as Buhari backs Buni committee. And right that says Yobe governor meets president in London. Details on page 8. If you go to the top of the page, you'd find 2023 presidency. APC reps endorse Tinubu, senators wish him well. We also have fuel crisis. Buhari apologizes to Nigerians, orders clamp down on saboteurs. And these are some of the stories you can find on Daily Trust newspaper.
Okay, let's take a look at some more stories on The Punch this morning. El-Rufai, other APC governors lose out. Buni meets Buhari, returns today. And the writers there say APC chair parleys president in UK, returns from Dubai trip, cancels NEC meeting. Party may die if crisis continues, Buhari warns. Directs DSS police to provide cover. And you find other stories right at the top on page 25. Banks' total assets rose by 8.25 trillion naira in 2021, and this is according to a CBN report. Blackout. Federal government blames gas shortage, vandalism. OK's 40 billion naira for discos. And on page 27 on The Punch, National Assembly proposing criminalizing illegal connection meter bypass, and this is according to the NERC. Electoral Act, federal government exploring court talks on amendment, says AGF. And then you find other stories on The Punch this morning. Tinubu berates presidential aspirants over defections, sells bid at National Assembly. Ondo shoemaker claiming self-defense stabs landlord's son to death. You find details of that story on page 5 on The Punch. And then on page 8, you see the story about Yoruba Nation, Akintoye, others ask courts to stop Ekiti ocean polls. These are some of the major stories in The Punch.
All right, with that, we'll move on to Guardian newspaper. We have on APC crisis, which is the lead story. Buhari takes charge, pushes back governors. Writers here say affirms Yobe governor as CEC-PC chair. March 26 convention. Buni meets president in London, set to return. Party cancels today's NEC meeting as Yari Akume, others pick chairmanship forms. At the top there, we have a story that says Abba Kyari's extradition process on, says Malami, and details of that on page 5. And on page 2, we have more problems for Nigerians here, talking about NERC to review electricity tariff every 6 months over Forex and inflation. And right beside the pictorial, you'd find, despite backstabbing, God will see me through, says Tinubu. We also have FG considers refusal of Buhari's Electoral Act amendment by Senate. Former Senate leader faults APC zoning arrangement, and PDP raises 37-man panel on zoning. And right below that, that's on the footnotes there, you have NJC issues warning to 2 judges, places others on watch list. And these are some of the stories from the Guardian newspaper.
Okay, let's take a look at some more on the Nation newspaper this morning. Buhari to APC governors. Buni remains party chair. You see the writers there saying President insists on March 26th convention date. Yobe governor back cancels NEC meeting. And you'd find other stories right at the top on page 5. PDP NEC fails to OK zoning. Pay 40 million naira for form. You'd also see the story about Yoruba Nation agitators file suits to stop Ekiti Osun polls. Malami, we are seeking options on Electoral Act. You'd also find other stories about federal government to stop payment for unused electricity. Senators, reps pledge support for Tinubu. These are some of the major highlights of the Nation.
All right, with that, we'll move on to a Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And the lead here talks about APC crisis. Buhari backs Buni, warns governors, NEC meeting cancelled. Buni returns after meeting with Buhari in London, and Tinubu meets APC Senate reps caucuses over presidential election, presidential aspiration. Details on that on page 5. We also have Soludo to be inaugurated as Anambra governor today. Power crisis is like war, says federal government. NJC issues warning to 2 judges and places 1 on watch list over judicial misconduct. And we also have Osun Ekiti polls. Akintoye, 17 others want exercise stopped. Sue INEC, AGF, faults 1999 constitution. We also have PDP opens presidential race, fixes 40 million naira fee for forms, and sets up 37 members zoning committee to report back in 2 weeks. At the top there, we have FG wants TikTok to suspend accounts of Nigerians promoting fake news and rituals. And then NANS gives a federal government ASU 2 weeks to end strike, declares ASU real enemy of students, and passes vote of no confidence on Ngige and Adamu. These are some of the stories on Nigerian Tribune.
Okay, let's talk business on the Business Day newspaper. You'd find a story about petrol imports doubled to 3.96 trillion naira in 1 year. And then there's a chart there that shows you incentive for smuggling. Petrol price gulf between Nigeria and other neighboring African countries. You see the story also about interest rates, MPC review unlikely on inflation, oil price. Oil marketers say airlines refuse contracts, owe millions. On page 30, commodity exchanges seen as better deal for farmers. You'd also see the story about Nigerians' misery rises as living standards fall. You'll find the details of that story on page 31 on the Business Day newspaper. And as we've told you earlier, we have the deputy editor, Daily Trust, Hamza Idris, to review the papers this morning.
Yes, welcome once again.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good.
All right, so let's start with the lead story on Daily Trust. Talking about, the diesel price. We've seen that queues have actually resurfaced, and, manufacturers are complaining that their businesses, it's taking a toll on their businesses, and, some jobs have actually been lost as well.
It was a deliberate story. If you look at the front pages of other newspapers, it was all about politics. The crisis in PDP, crisis in APC, and what have you. But we here are not unmindful of the plight of Nigerians. You need people to survive first before they play politics, and that was why we work very hard to speak to those that matter. And as of yesterday, very, very pathetic. The price of diesel, which is the mainstay of most industries, including SMEs, has skyrocketed. In some places, over 700 naira per liter, from around 200 naira in December. Of course, they have liberalized the diesel energy, whereby marketers get it for themselves from abroad. But you can see, because even if you have the regulation, you need to monitor the actors there. But this is not the case. And yesterday, from manufacturers, many of them said they are finding it extremely difficult to break even. And therefore, they are calling our government to intervene. Small and medium industries, many of them have folded up. Bakeries, they have shut their doors. Barbing salons, tailors, and many others, they are really, really crying. While some, insist on remaining afloat, others are actually saying they will stop production, while others, like rice millers, they are saying definitely they have to lay off some of their staff, because it is not possible for them to now, produce 24 hours. So it's really a serious problem. And the actors there are blaming the Russia-Ukraine war, but I don't see that as a serious excuse. Yes, in Nigeria, we find it very difficult, very easy to blame. Yes, if our refineries are really working, I don't think if we will have cause to import the commodity, because we can just, refine it here, distribute it. We have a huge market, but we import it, sadly.
Another story close related to this is the issue of fuel scarcity, and we're still seeing queues, within the capital city. And just yesterday, the president apologized to Nigerians ordering clampdown on saboteurs. Is this going to change anything?
It will not change anything. It will not change anything. They missed the game. This government missed the game. A wonderful opportunity, because they saw what was happening for so many years from a distance, and when they got to opportunity, which was to fix the refineries, they also went to bed with the norm, which was importation. And that importation favors just a cabal, a small group of people who have money, and then they import it. Of course, they claim that it's only the NNPC that imports the product. Well, it's NNPC, but NNPC does not go to the refineries, and then the countries abroad to buy. It gives contrast to many people who are making billions of dollars in profit. So we will live with this, honestly, until we do the needful, which is fixing our refineries and then giving incentives to private individuals to establish refineries. We have the crude, but we can't refine it for over 60 years. I keep saying this whenever this issue comes up. So we will live with these fuel queues for a very long time. Of course, they attributed the beginning of the problem to the adulterated fuel that was exported, but that was just one out of so many reasons, because we don't have even the foreign exchange now to bring the product. And then secondly, we don't monitor our borders. Nigeria subsidizes all its neighbors, Benin, even Ghana, in some extent, Niger, Chad, Cameroon, and Central African Republic. If you go to our borders at night, you see hundreds of trucks, moving outwards to all of these countries. And they are happy because we pay the subsidies, and then they take the credit, the neighboring countries. And I see no reason, because some people are saying the only way to solve the problem is to also remove subsidy so that the price will be equal. This is very wrong. This fuel, I mean, the crude belongs to Nigerians. So it is the responsibility of the government to monitor the borders. If it means recruiting, millions of guards that will take charge, and then with cameras and all that to protect the borders, so be it. But Nigerians should not be made to suffer for the shortcoming of some people. If immigration, customs, police, the military, and what have you, cannot police the border, why should Nigerians bear the burden? I am not in that school of thought, honestly. Subsidy is very good. I mean, if the refineries are what you will not even talking about subsidy. So we should do the right thing. But for now, Nigerians should be supported, honestly, because it is practically impossible for people to buy liter of diesel at 700, and then for the taxi drivers, people with small generators to buy fuel for 400. If you check our page 3, we reported, an elaborate plight of people in border communities in the same edition of our paper. Every other person is just crying, and it's not good.
Okay, now this story on The Guardian on NERC to review electricity tariff every 6 months, due to forex and inflation. That's adding more burden on Nigerians.
The laws guarding the activities of all the electricity agencies provide that there will be, increase in the price of electricity, but there were many caveats there that there should be corresponding increase in the supply chain. But what are we seeing now? There are some localities that since the beginning of February, they have not seen light. And then just early this week, we had 2 grid collapse. So this is a very serious problem that Nigeria is facing. The same way we're having challenges in the, oil sector, you can see it is the same thing in the energy sector, and it all revolves around leadership and then commitment to serve. Yes, in some places, children born 17, 20 years, they don't even know if there is something called blackout. But here, a baby born today, maybe the first experience is for that child to, witness blackout, despite the privatization. We have a story in the paper that is in Daily Trust where Junkers are claiming around 1.3 or 1.6 trillion that they are expecting the federal government to pay them for the electricity they generated, but the distribution, aspect could not be fulfilled. But the head of NAREC told them that no, it's not possible, because even the generation is problematic, and the government will not continue to pay for services not rendered. So the issues are not really adding up. You can see despite the privatization, government pumping billions of naira into the energy sector without corresponding result, while the discourse, they feel that they just have to increase the tariff. Some of us have lost count of what it takes now to even buy a unit of electricity, because the issues are just not adding up, and it's really sad.
You know, we're also seeing that the federal government might go to court following the National Assembly's refusal to amend Section 84, subsection 12 of the newly amended Electoral Act.
Yes, you know, after the president assented to the new Electoral Act, he said he wasn't comfortable with section, is it 42? 84, yeah.
84 subsection.
Yes, which talks about appointees of government should resign their positions, you know, before participating in party activities like conventions or vying for political office. Some people allege that it was actually a booby trap by the National Assembly for inserting that clause, because if you go to countries where we borrow our kind of democracy, because Nigeria's democracy is jollof rice. Yes, we claim that it's American system, but you can see some elements there from the British. You see some even from Ghana. Yes, it's a combination of many systems. But when the president took the bill to the National Assembly, when they debated it, they threw it away. And there is limited time for the government to do something. And that is why the Attorney General yesterday said they have like 2 or 3 options. One, to plead with the National Assembly to revisit that clause, and then the other one is to simply go to court. But it's really a problem, because I don't think, or I don't know if the courts will, adjudicate on that within the time frame available, because the Electoral Act is clear on the time that political parties should conduct their primaries. Some smart governors, they have already directed their political appointees, such as commissioners, special advisors, special assistants, and what have you, who have interest to actually tender their resignation. And some political scientists and curious observers believe that that provision is really good for the system, because a situation whereby you have ministers who want to be president still occupying a certain seat, and at the same time, moving from one post to the other, campaigning, or commissioners who want to be governors or go to the National Assembly, now combining the two, that is working in their offices to deliver services to the people, and at the same time campaigning. It's a serious problem. But I don't know. Maybe it's something that there should be maybe a poll, maybe by media houses, to see if Nigerians will be happy for the appointees to sign off before they throw their hearts into the contest for elective positions.
Okay, now still talking about politics. We're seeing that on the Punch newspaper, the headline actually reads, El-Rufai and other APC governors lose out, even as Buni meets Buhari, and he's to return today from London. So they're saying Buhari, that's the president, is saying that Buni remains party chair despite all the controversies surrounding.
You remember last week when Governor El-Rufai, on behalf of the other side, said when Buni returns, he will return as Yobe governor, and not as
chairman,
yes,
chair CCPC.
Yes, there was actually that serious move to remove him because of the allegations that he and his colleagues, that is some members of the caretaker committee, were not actually amenable to the conduct of the
A convention.
Yes, the convention, where new leaders will emerge, who will in turn conduct primaries for various offices, right from state assemblies up to the presidency. That allegation was there, and you know, so some members of the party, including some governors, felt that there was the need for them to act first, so that they will take charge of the party, and they sought the consent of the president. What we gathered was that President Buhari told them to do the needful. And when somebody said do the needful, it does not mean that you should stage a coup or you should use unconventional methods to effect
Do the right thing.
changes, which we feel that was what they did. But you see, INEC played key role in resolving what will be a calamity for the country. Because in a situation whereby the ruling party is thrown into chaos, an irredeemable chaos, what does that mean? It's going to be a serious problem. Of course, opposition parties should work hard to dislodge ruling parties. But in a situation whereby you have a scenario at the national level akin to what happened in Zamfara, what does that mean? You remember what happened in Zamfara? Yes, when the court said that all the people elected under the platform of APC have lost their seats because there were some infractions at the beginning of the primaries and all that. And the APC at the national level was heading towards that direction. So I think the APC should thank INEC for saving them by really reading the books for them, that look, for you to effect change, you need to inform us 21 days ahead and all that. So the removal or the purported removal of the Buni-led caretaker committee could not stand. And then I am sure the president, who is in London, must have been advised adequately. And that was why, apart from the statement issued by one of his spokespersons last week, he personally signed a letter yesterday to the chairman of the APC governors, Governor Atiku Bagudu. He copied the acting chairman of the party, Governor Sani Bello. He also copied the DSS and then the Inspector General of Police, telling them that the status quo must be maintained, and then Buni should be allowed to conduct the convention. And you know, they're supposed to hold NEC, that is National Executive Team meeting today, but the caretaker committee, you know, said there was no need to hold it, because that NEC, assuming it holds today, that is where they will ratify the removal of the caretaker committee and then to stamp the authority of Governor Sani Bello to carry on with the convention. But there will be no NEC today. But as a political reporter, I know the fight is not over. Yes, of course.
So what happens to Governor Bello now? We've not heard anything from him.
No, you see, that man, he was really careful. Remember, that day when the coup was staged at, yes, yes, there was coup at the APC. Because, you know, he went there, of course, number one, he parked his car where Buni used to park his car. And then when he entered the meeting room, he sat where Buni. So what does that mean? You know, it was really a palace coup. But he was really careful. Because when reporters asked him, have you completely taken over? He said, I am acting.
He's in acting capacity.
Yes, I think you also, you know, have some advisors who who told him to be smart in the approach, and he was really smart. And we learned that he was also in talks with Buni while Buni was in Dubai. This may not be
Very
true.
interesting.
You understand? And then beyond that, you know, he has been a member of the committee. Yes, and from our findings, there were 3 governors. You know, one of the governors resigned, so it remained Buni, him, and some members. So naturally, if Buni was absent, he should act. But what we've seen before now was whenever Buni was not around, the national secretary, you know, act and then issued a statement and all that. But this time around, Sani Bello, with the active support of the Eurofais, he took charge. But as the wise man said, the fight is not really over. Yes, now they just have no option but to put their acts together to do the convention. But maybe the fight will resume
After the convention.
yes, after the convention. But I know if the caretaker, you know, delivers the convention, any other thing will be secondary.
The drama of politics in Nigeria. Very interesting.
All right, I think with this, we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
The idea was to give the interim government confidence that there is somebody, a military man, who is well known, who can be accepted.
You alluded to the case of your son, Umar Farouk. Are you in touch with him?
Yes, yes. He phones us 2 times, sometimes 3 times in a month.
As always, when I'm talking about late Abiola, I still thank my God for directing me on things to do when he gave me that leadership of this country.
Many of you honest Fulanis, you allow this man to cast aspersion on you.
You know, Zamfara is the mother of all bandits.
The biggest problem, if you permit me, is the fact that we have not been able to get the totality of our citizenry.
It's very, very difficult to have a fixed mind like that this one you will hand over to this person because you think he will do better.
I don't see myself under no circumstance ever leaving APC for another political party.
Here on the Mambila Plateau. And this is where the hydroelectric power dam is supposed to be constructed.
Most people in Nigeria are ignorant of the fact that employing a child as a maid is in fact against the law.
Access to the textile mill has been very difficult.
I believe, or I think that if you want to make money, it should be in a place where there are not plenty of people that can do what you do.
From the way things are happening now, I don't think the 2 parties will make any impact.
I've been talking about the updates concerning the campaign of Nigerian Super Eagles in Abuja.
Bola Tinubu has informed President Muhammadu Buhari of his ambition to contest for the position of president.
To be self-reliant, a blind man defies all odds to become a carpenter in Gombe State.
The country is now experiencing a fourth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic with the emergence of the Omicron variant.
Talks are ongoing between NRC management and the union.
All right, welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daybreak, reaching you live from our studios here in the nation's capital. And Hamza Idris is still here with us, talking to us about some of the stories that are making headway on our papers this morning. There's a very disturbing story on the Punch newspaper, the one about soldier beats Ondo's 69-year-old artisan to death over 7,000 naira.
It's very sad. If you check other papers, there are similar stories. Look at the two soldiers in Maiduguri that connived with some civilians to rob. So there is no culture now in Nigeria, because I always say this, when we were young, sometimes for air you will not even see the military, you will not see soldier on the street. But now they are everywhere. If you ask him, he will blame his superiors that they have not been giving him his allowance. But that shouldn't be the reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aha. So it's really a systemic problem that our security operatives, they now mingle freely with civilians and they argue. You see soldiers, policemen and others brutalizing motorists over 100 naira. You know, pointing guns at them over 100 naira, and then sometimes even killing them. Now this is an all artisan because of 7,000. Look at what happened. And the story, you know, only got there because we have this citizens journalism. Yes, and that is why, if not for the citizen journalism,
You don't get to hear such.
Nigeria will have been free for all. Yes, because some citizens now, they don't feel like giving the due respect to the custodians. Who are the custodians? I mean the security operatives. So it's such a bad development, and then there is the need for, honestly, serious reorientation of our security operatives. And then while we reorient them, we should also take care of them, because they put their lives on the line to protect the larger society. And then measures should be taken. Anybody who, you know, maltreat the weak should be made to pay a big price for that.
Okay, now let's talk about, let's see, fee forms. Yes, for PDP, you know, there's a story about it saying that it's pegged at, is it 42 million naira?
Yes, if you want to be president, you pay that, and you will see many people. You see, the major problem in the PDP, because their meeting yesterday was also deadlocked, because they've been talking about zoning. The South believes that the presidential seat should be ceded to them, but you can see it's like you have more candidates in the North compared to the South. I don't know how and why Southern candidates are not forthcoming.
Is that why some people are against the zoning?
Yes. Many people in the PDP, they are against the zoning, because like Chief Raymond Dopesi, he's a chieftain, he's from the south, but he believes that the formula should be left open, that anybody who wants to vie for the presidency and any other position, instead of sharing the key seats, like saying the South-West should produce the president, or Southeast or South-South, they should leave it open. The same for the seat of the Senate President, Speaker, and others. So this 40 million, I'm sure that is where your interest is. For the politicians, it's nothing. Yes, for the politicians, 40, even last season, they paid something around that.
Okay.
So I can assure you that if they leave the space open, no fewer than 10 people will pay this 40 million to pick the form for the presidency. But their dilemma is which of the zones should produce the president. And they are being smart. You can see they are deliberately foot dragging, because they want to see where the ruling party will take its presidential ticket. And whichever area the ruling party take its presidential ticket, the likelihood is that the PDP will go the opposite direction. But some people believe that the two parties will most likely leave their presidential ticket in the north, maybe for some reason that's not today.
There's this very funny caption on the Guardian newspaper. Tinubu is saying, despite backstabbing, God will see me through.
He is one of the aspirants who, started the consultations. They don't want us to say campaign, because yes, INEC has not lifted the ban on campaign. But you can see Tinubu is a smart politician with what he did, because first, after meeting some people silently, he now went to the villa, met with the president and said, I want to succeed you. I want to step into your shoe without stepping on it. So he told the president, we don't know what the president told him, but when he came out, he said he was there to consult. And from there, he started visiting prominent people and prominent traditional rulers. From there, he now moved to the National Assembly. You can see House of Reps caucus, the APC caucus yesterday, they endorsed him. They said, you are our candidate, meaning any other person that will come up will have to battle. But when he went to the Senate, they were smart enough, maybe because of age and wisdom. I don't know, I'm sorry to members of the House of Reps. They said, we wish you well, which is a neutral endorsement of sort. Yeah, meaning if you get it, fine. If you didn't get it, we didn't give any commitment. But above all, Tinubu told them that he is well prepared for the job, and he said he has supported the aspiration of many people. And of course, nobody will take that away from him. He was partly instrumental to the emergence of President Buhari, because the president tried 3 times, and he has, of course, nobody can beat Buhari in the north. That 12 million votes, have been there for him over time, but he was unable to break the gills until he crossed the bridge. He went to the other side of the country, where they went into an arrangement. So there is this claim that there was silent arrangement between him and President Buhari, that he will support him, and then when Buhari completes his 8 years, he will support him. We don't have evidence. We have pushed, and we interviewed many people who could not actually present documented evidence. But they said, in politics, obviously, if I say I will support you, I will also give you some conditions. And they believe that that condition from the side of Tinubu was for him to be supported. But only time will tell, and in the next couple of months, they will definitely hold their convention. But I feel other contenders must have to work very hard. You can see among the ministers of the president, the body language of some of them, you know, allude to the fact that they would like to vie for the presidency. But many of them are waiting for the body language of the president, because they believe if the president said, this is my candidate, he will have an upper hand. But for Tinubu, he starts his game early enough.
You know, talking about contenders, just yesterday, I saw a car with music blasting, and there was Vice President Yemi Osinbajo's, you know, picture. I was like, oh, we're already seeing that with loud music, you know, within the city.
Even way before, you know, there were talks about him, you know, coming out. I think abroad, there was a poster of him and Zulum.
Oh, interesting.
President and Vice President.
You know our story of Monday. We that story landed us in trouble in court because some people are not just happy with us, and we have seen the handwriting everywhere. We spoke with people, you know, and you see, just look at it. Will the Vice President, even if he didn't say anything, look at what is happening. The campaign outside Nigeria, the campaign here, groups, because we hosted some prominent people here. They came, they said they are here to solicit for support. Of course, as a media house, we welcome every other person. But when they came, personally, I asked, I said, look, have you spoken to the Vice President before you start this? They said, no, he's not aware. We didn't tell. They are being clever by half. Yes, and then, but if you look at the configuration of Nigerian political environment, it is very unlikely for people to continue doing this without the tacit approval of the Vice President, maybe his body language. Yes, but from our findings, he also hinted the president, and you know, rightly, he should do that. Yes, because if you come this far with your principal, you know, 8 years, and then even during his last birthday, look at the words the president used. You know, he eulogized him, you know, a loyal deputy, capable and all that. So, but then, those close to him, yesterday I sent 2 days ago, I sent an invitation to one of his people. I said he should come and feature on our Politics Today program. He didn't respond. It was yesterday I saw the response. He said, after the story you did on Monday, you want us to come and feature. But I know they will come because they are really interested, you know. They are really interested in the presidency. But we will continue watching them doing the cat and mouse game. But as far as we are concerned, we will continue to dig and we'll continue to report. Yes, we know that there are some ministers who also, there are some ministers who are really not sleeping. Yes, they are desperate to get the ticket, but they don't want us to say it. And they want us to support them nocturnally. Yeah.
All right, I think with that, we'll take a quick breather and, you know, just take a few reports, and we'll be back in a bit.
the counsel of wise men is anything to go by. You see some advice. If you want to go fast, do it alone. But if you want to get there, get success, and go there, definitely go with a team. I'm asking for that teamsmanship here today to get me over the hump of nomination process. And from that hump to get me to the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You all will remind me of the journey so far. That brings back again my memory of the first national anthem of this country. What is that? The first stanza. It says, though tribes, tongues are different, but in brotherhood we stand. That is why the symbol of our party is broom. To create prosperity, cleanse our society of promises of essential commodity. When we have the best brains, the energy to deliver Nigeria of our tomorrow today, you are in charge. The democratic tree that you are cultivating will bring the fruit for the welfare of the people. Mr. President of the Senate, I still congratulate you. Budget passing, the adjustment, the timeliness of raising Nigeria hope. The rest that remains is about a change of leadership that I mentioned to Mr. President and my ambition. And I told him, my ambition is not blind to the extent that I will step on his toes. I just want to step into his shoe and not on his toes. Nigeria will remain united in my period. And we will use that unity, the symbol of our party, stay as one to cleanse of Nigeria of unrealizable potential. It's taking too long. The rest of the world is in a hurry. And we have the capacity, the ability, the knowledge, the human resources and material resources to produce things that other countries will buy from us. Today, why are we flaring our gas? When we could have invested long term to compete with Russia in Europe. We can still do it, my dear brothers and sisters. If I continue to talk about the emotional thing that is affecting us in the country, I will take too much of your time.
I believe that at the end of the day, Your Excellency will all the time continue to support our party. Recently, we have had difficulty because of misunderstanding between some of our members, and the party has been thrown into a temporary confusion. But thank God, it is over now. It is very clear that our party is back on track, that at the end of the day, in the next 2 weeks or so, our national convention will hold, and a new set of leaders will emerge, who will take us to the destination of victory by the grace of God in 2023. And Your Excellency, once again, all of us wish you well, wish you the best of luck, wish you success in this. And in the affair of fighting for APC to continue to be the ruling party in Nigeria, justifiably so, Your Excellency, we are with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. On that note, we have come to the end of the session. At this point,
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
All right, so we just saw that report, you know, and we still have our reviewer in the studio. We'd just like him to say one or two things about the report before we wrap up.
Which of the reports?
This report on Tinubu.
Yes, very interesting. You know, we said it earlier that smart enough, he started early. Yes, but you can see when he visited the two houses, the responses appeared different. In the House of Representatives, led by Femi, they endorsed him. That is the APC caucus. They endorsed him, and rightly, the leadership very close to him, and they eulogized him. They said he has paid his dues, and it's time for the kingmaker to become king. And but when he went to the senators, they also listened to him carefully. But the Senate President cunningly, you know, while responding, said, yes, we'll continue to support our ruling party. Meaning any other person who comes will most likely receive similar response. And then he said they wish the Aswaju well. I think other contenders must have to work harder to, you know, catch up with the speed at which he is carrying on with his consultations. Because as I said earlier, he started very, very early, and he has gone far. He has received endorsement in many places, and he is a rugged fighter. Meaning any other contender must have to work hard to maybe get closer ahead of the national convention, and then ultimately the party primaries, where they will decide on who will fly their flag.
You know, from the look of things and from the reactions of people, you know, within the city, it seems like they're looking forward to seeing the Oshibajo Zulum pairing. A lot of people are saying they're going to make quite a great pair.
That is it. We heard of that. Somebody called me the other day and said, look, editor, have you seen what happened in Borno in the last 2 weeks? This was after President Buhari visited, you know. When Buhari visited, just 2 weeks after, the vice president was also there. So Zulum, by virtue of maybe the way he's performing in Maiduguri, is now the well-sorted bride. Even you know that
Nigerians.
some people in PDP, they are also saying that the presidential candidate of PDP should pick Zulum as the...
Very interesting.
I don't know, he's a lucky person. Yes, he's doing well, I think. And so you can see success has many fathers. It is only failure that is an orphan.
Right.
Meaning it's a message to politicians and to all of us that we should do well. I keep asking where the governor, you know, was getting his money to do so many things. You know, almost every day you see him giving money to people. I mean, rightly, you know, people who need the money, visiting villages, building houses, building bridges, building roads, you know, paying school fees, building school, and all that. He is doing very well. He's one of the, I think, the pride of democracy, let me put it simply. But this is what we need. And in fact, many governors are doing well. Yes, even the El-Rufai who had a bruises, during the fight with Buni, he's also doing very well in his state. And rightly, of course, I think it is the insecurity that dwarf the performance of some governors. And I hope that between now and 2023, from the national level to the state level, the president and the governors should do something to address the precarious security situation, so that by the time they leave, we will begin to see the achievements they recorded. Because in fairness, even at the national level, they have done a lot in terms of infrastructure, because they have built many roads, the railway, and many other things. But in government, no room for excuses. If you miss one, especially the security, that is where they are yet to get it right. And I hope that they will get it right before they leave.
Okay, now, in a bid to tackle insecurity and also mostly ritual killings, by the way, now the federal government are saying they want TikTok to suspend accounts of Nigerians promoting rituals and fake news. Now, do we see, the likelihood of TikTok getting banned if, it doesn't do what the federal government does, it just says, just like Twitter?
We hope they should do that. Because honestly, TikTok, most of the messages are not really things that will foster unity and peaceful coexistence. And young people now, they are glued to their phones and they learn terrible things. It would not be good to ban it. It would not be good to ban it, but to seriously censor it. Yes, if there will be good messages on how to become, a carpenter in 3 days or in 3 months. Yeah. How to become self-reliant in 1 month. These are the kind of messages that we should be seeing from some of these platforms. And government, whether we like it or not, government has a serious role to play in protecting the society. Yes, talking to platforms like TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and all that, it's not out of place if you want to get it right, because where your freedom stops, that is where the freedom of another person starts. Yes, so government has a role to play without prejudice to the concept of freedom of expression.
Okay. Now, how about NANS giving the federal government an ASU 2 weeks to end strike?
We are tired. We are tired.
The students are tired as well.
Every Nigerian is tired, and strike has never solved any problem. Yes, and it appears government has shut its ears, to this issue. It's not even a matter of priority. So I believe universities and then policy makers have a role to play in looking at another option to resolving the protracted problems afflicting our universities. You see, why not we learn from what is happening in other climes? Do you see universities going on strike, even in some neighboring African countries? Why? So government should stop playing the ostrich, because whenever they go to the meeting table, they don't really address the root causes of some of these problems. ASU has about 8 demands, which government in all intent will not be able to solve them. So if you cannot solve them, why not change the method? As far as I'm concerned, the policy guiding regulation of universities should be changed. I don't want to preempt it. We're actually working on a serious report on some of these issues, which we will come up with, and I strongly believe that the report will most likely change the thinking of all the stakeholders. But we have to be fair to our students, because they are at the receiving end. Most of the policy makers, they are rounding up their lifespan, let me put it this way, as far as maybe giving their own part to national development. It is the millions of students who are roaming the streets that are suffering. Students are supposed to graduate maybe at the age of 20, 21, 22. You see them graduating when they are 30. And then this has entered into the lifespan of, their working life. And it's not fair. So there is the need for government, policy makers, and then even the teachers to think out of the box, because it appears strike is not and would not be the final solution to the problem.
Okay. Now there's this story on Daily Trust on page 16 on how Lagos bishop drugged and defiled a daughter. A really sad one there.
I really wanted us to discuss this since the beginning of the program. You can see clerics hiding under the toga of religion, and beyond, desecrating the altar. This man has descended so low to drug his own daughter, his biological daughter. Yes, from the story, we learned that he started this since 2019.
Wow.
Yes, that he invited the young girl to his room. He asked her to do certain things, and he gave her some drugs. Later, he also gave her blood tonic, according to her. And then he said she should sleep on his, she should go to his bed, which she did. Then later, she found him defiling her. And not only her, there was also a young girl, the daughter of one of the members of his so-called church, because the church was within a house. They said it's just a room. So he just claimed to be a cleric, but the truth is that the man is a devil. Last week we reported similar story, and this is a call for action. Yes, I know that it is not wrong to exercise some control on who is a cleric, who should also preside over religious activities. And I'm talking about both the Christian faith and the Muslim faith. Governors, local government chairmen, and then at the national level, there is the need to really regulate some of these things. I know you have seen severally where some hardened criminals, overnight they will tell you that they are clerics, right? And then they will open shops, because they are shops.
Yeah, definitely.
They will open shops and then said they have received, revelation, yes, to start preaching, and then they will start, even giving predictions that tomorrow it is going to rain and all that. And before you know, they extend their excesses to even their children. It's really sad. When I was going through the story yesterday, I was saddened. His own daughter. His own daughter. Then, is this a man? Is he human? I think he should be an animal. Yes, and then the law should take its course.
But really, I'm really keen. How can one, protect, for instance, how can a mother protect her child from these kind of circumstances in the first place? When the person who is supposed to be the protector is
become
now
the aggressor.
Yeah, it's really very...
And that is it. In fact, we have descended so low in Nigeria, because this story is just one of thousands that happened on that day. Because almost every other day, if you open the pages of newspapers, if you listen to radio stations, you see some of these things that they are just incomprehensible. You don't just understand. You begin to ask, what is really wrong? And some people, they do this not for pleasure. Probably he was misled by one spiritualist that for your church, so-called church, to become as big as maybe this building, you have to sleep with your daughter.
My goodness.
Yes. Some will tell them to go and sleep with their mothers. Some will say you have to go and remove the head of your mother. There are some people who kill their mothers simply because they want to be famous. So it's really bad, and we are uncultured. Let me put it this way.
I'm speechless, you know.
And it's really painful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we've come to the end of Newspaper Review. Thank you so much, General Editor, Daily Trust.
I messed up his title earlier. I'm so sorry for that.
Thank you so much for...
After all, I'm a reporter.
No.
A reporter is a reporter. Wherever you are, we look forward to going back to normal reporting.
But in a situation where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that